Chosen one, look at yourself in the mirror right now, and tell me what you see. Go ahead, I'll wait, because what's staring back at you isn't what they told you it was. They pushed you so far past your breaking point that you thought you'd lost yourself forever. But here's the twist: they never saw coming. You didn't break. You evolved. Today you're going to discover the truth about what you really are, what you've always been, and why they worked so desperately to keep you from seeing it. You're not watching this by accident. You're here because you're ready to understand why you feel so different now, why their old tricks don't work anymore, and why you can't go back to who you used to be. Think of it like this: they spent years trying to clip the wings of an eagle, thinking it was just a bird. They had no idea they were creating something far more dangerous than they could handle. You need to understand is that your transformation wasn't random, it was inevitable. Every chosen one goes through this metamorphosis, but not everyone survives it with their power intact. You did, and that tells me everything I need to know about what runs through your veins. See, they thought they knew you, thought they had you figured out like some simple equation. Sweet plus kind plus giving equals controllable. They built their entire relationship with you on that formula, banking on your predictability, your endless capacity for forgiveness, your willingness to absorb their chaos and transform it into something beautiful. But formulas only work when all the variables remain constant, and they kept changing the variables, didn't they? Kept pushing further, taking more, demanding greater sacrifices from your soul, while giving less and less in return. What they didn't realize is that every time they pushed, they were actually awakening something inside you that had been sleeping. Something ancient, something that doesn't negotiate. And every betrayal was a key turning in a lock they didn't know existed. Every lie was another tumbler falling into place. Every moment they took your kindness for weakness was another bar of the cage dissolving. They thought they were breaking you down, but they were actually breaking you free. The prison they built to contain your light became the crucible that forged your power. You can pinpoint the exact moment it happened, can't you? The moment when something inside you went click, and suddenly you were seeing everything differently. Maybe it was the 15th time they blamed you for their bad mood. Maybe it was when you caught them in a lie so blatant it insulted your intelligence. Maybe it was when you realized they'd been telling other people a completely different version of events than what actually happened. Whatever the trigger was, that moment changed your molecular structure permanently. The old you would apologize for their bad moods. The old you would make excuses for their behavior to other people. The old you would twist yourself into impossible shapes just to keep peace, even when that peace came at the cost of your own sanity. You remember that version of yourself like remembering a dream, soft around the edges, hard to grasp, almost unrecognizable now. That person feels like someone you used to know rather than someone you used to be. But here's what they never understood about the gentle ones, the giving ones, the ones who lead with their hearts wide open. We're not gentle because we're weak. We're gentle because we know exactly how much damage we could do if we weren't. Every angel in every text, every tradition, every story, they're warriors first, healers second. The gentleness is a choice, not a limitation. And when you take away someone's choice to be gentle, you force them to remember what they really are, underneath all that carefully controlled kindness. The metamorphosis wasn't gentle, was it? It felt like dying while staying alive, like watching yourself disappear while simultaneously being born. Some nights you'd lie awake feeling like a stranger in your own skin, not recognizing the thoughts in your head or the feelings in your chest. The person you'd been for years was dissolving, and the person you were becoming hadn't fully formed yet. You existed in this liminal space between versions of yourself, and it was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. During those transformation weeks and months, you probably scared yourself sometimes. The thoughts that would cross your mind, thoughts of cutting people off completely, thoughts of walking away from everything familiar, thoughts of choosing yourself so radically that it would shock everyone who thought they knew you. These weren't intrusive thoughts or mental illness symptoms. These were your true self finally breaking through the conditioning, finally asserting its right to exist without apology. They're terrified of your silence now. The way you can sit in a room and not react to their provocations. The way you can receive their emotional manipulations and respond with nothing but cool observation. They keep waiting for the explosion, for the meltdown, for the version of you that would engage with their drama and give them the emotional supply they've become addicted to. But your silence isn't passive, it's active, it's strategic, it's the most powerful position you've ever held in your life. Every word you don't speak is a word they can't use against you. Every emotion you don't give them is energy you keep for yourself. Every reaction you withhold is power you refuse to hand over. They trained you to be their emotional ATM, always dispensing feelings on demand. Now the machine is out of order, and they don't know how to function. Your silence operates on multiple levels simultaneously. On the surface it looks like disengagement, but underneath, it's the deepest form of engagement with yourself you've ever practiced. While they're performing their usual chaos, you're processing, analyzing, cataloging, filing away evidence of who they really are when they think you're not paying attention. Your silence isn't absence, it's presence so complete that it doesn't need to announce itself. This silence has texture, weight, intelligence. It's not the silence of someone who has nothing to say, it's the silence of someone who chooses their words like a sniper chooses their shots. Precise, measured, devastating, when deployed. They used to be able to fill the quiet spaces with their noise, their demands, their emotional emergencies. Now your silence absorbs their chaos, like a black hole, giving nothing back, reflecting nothing, just neutralizing their attempts to control the energy in the room. Your silence is driving them absolutely insane because it forces them to confront something they've been running from their entire lives, themselves. Without your reactions to distract them, without your emotions to feed off of, without your energy to vampire, they're left alone with their own emptiness, and that emptiness is terrifying to them. It's why they keep poking, keep prodding, keep trying to get any response from you at all. Even anger would be better than the vast echoing nothing they get when they try to push your buttons now. If this message hits your spirit, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can find it. The most beautiful part about your silence is how it reveals their true nature to anyone watching. When someone is screaming at a statue who looks crazy, when someone is having an emotional meltdown at someone who's sitting calmly, who appears unstable, your silence turns them into their own worst enemy, exposing their dysfunction to anyone with eyes to see. You don't have to defend yourself anymore, because their behavior in response to your peace speaks louder than any words you could say. You're operating on a different wavelength now, one that most people can't access. It's like you've upgraded your spiritual software while they're still running on the same old programming. This new frequency comes with enhanced abilities that you're probably still discovering. You can sense people's true intentions within moments of meeting them. You can feel the energy shift in a room when someone walks in with bad intentions. You know when someone is lying before they even finish their sentence. These aren't supernatural powers, they're survival skills that activated when you finally stop trusting words over actions, intentions over behaviors, promises over patterns. Your intuition got so sharp because your life depended on it. And now that it's calibrated to truth, it's impossible to fool. You can spot manipulation attempts from miles away. You can identify energy vampires before they get close enough to attach. You can see through fake apologies and performative remorse, like looking through glass. This frequency shift operates like a sophisticated filtering system. People's words come through, but so does their energy signature, their emotional state, their hidden agendas, their level of authenticity. You can feel when someone is performing versus when they're being genuine. You can sense when someone is trying to extract something from you versus when they're offering genuine exchange. You can detect the difference between someone who's interested in you and someone who's interested in what you can do for them. Your new frequency also affects how you process information. You don't just hear what people say anymore. You hear what they don't say. You notice the gaps, the inconsistencies, the places where their story doesn't add up. Your brain has become a lie detector that operates automatically, cross-referencing everything against your internal database of truth patterns. This isn't paranoia. This is pattern recognition elevated to an art form. This frequency shift has also changed the type of people you attract. Notice how different your social circle is becoming, how some relationships naturally fell away while new ones appeared almost effortlessly. That's not coincidence, that's frequency matching. You're now vibrating at a level that repels dysfunction and attracts authenticity. The people who can't handle your new energy simply remove themselves from your life. They can't tolerate being around someone who won't participate in their chaos, won't enable their victim mentalities, won't absorb their emotional dumping. The people who can match your frequency recognize you immediately. There's an instant knowing, a recognition that goes beyond surface conversation. These connections feel different, easier, more natural, more reciprocal. You don't have to explain yourself to these people, because they operate from the same level of consciousness. They understand boundaries without having them explained. They respect your energy without being told to. They add to your life instead of draining from it. What they're calling your dark side isn't dark at all, it's completeness. For years you only accessed half of your power, the healing half, the giving half, the nurturing half. But every coin has two sides, and every angel carries both the capacity for mercy and the capability for justice. They forced you to access your full range, your complete spectrum of responses. Integration means you no longer split yourself into acceptable and unacceptable parts. You no longer exile aspects of yourself to make others comfortable. You've learned to love your anger because it protects your boundaries. You've learned to honor your coldness because it preserves your energy. You've learned to respect your capacity for cutting people off because it maintains your peace. These aren't character flaws, they're character features that were always meant to work together. Now you can heal and you can cut off. You can love deeply and you can detach completely. You can offer second chances and you can close doors permanently. You can be incredibly warm and absolutely ice cold, sometimes within the same conversation, depending on what the situation requires. This isn't bipolar or unstable, this is mastery. This is having access to your full arsenal of responses, instead of being limited to just the ones that made other people comfortable. The integration process required you to make peace with parts of yourself you'd been taught to reject. Your capacity for ruthlessness, your ability to be selfish when necessary, your willingness to prioritize your own needs over other people's wants, your skill at saying no without explaining why. These qualities weren't additions to your personality. They were always there, just suppressed by conditioning that told you good people don't have edges. But integration also means understanding when to deploy which aspect of yourself. You don't lead with harshness any more than you lead with softness. You assess each situation and respond with whatever energy will be most effective. Sometimes that's compassion, sometimes that's consequences, sometimes that's patience, sometimes that's immediate removal. You've become situationally intelligent in ways that make you incredibly effective at protecting yourself while still remaining open to genuine connection. They're calling you changed, different, not yourself anymore. But that's the biggest joke of all, because this is more yourself than you've ever been. This is who you were before they convinced you to dim your light, lower your voice, and apologize for taking up space in the world. You were never meant to be their comfort blanket. You were meant to be a force of nature. But they wanted a pet, not a predator. They wanted controllable, not complete. Remember how their guilt trips used to work on you? Those tactics don't land anymore, do they? It's like you've developed antibodies against their emotional manipulation. Their words bounce off you now instead of penetrating your defenses. This immunity didn't happen overnight. It was built through repeated exposure to their toxicity until your system finally said enough and developed natural resistance. Every time they lied to you, your truth detection system got stronger. Every time they manipulated you, your manipulation resistance increased. Every time they tried to make you feel crazy, your reality testing abilities improved. They inadvertently turned you into someone who is immune to the very tactics they use to control you. The immunity extends beyond just their specific techniques. You've become resistant to entire categories of manipulation that you didn't even recognize before. Love bombing doesn't work because you know the difference between genuine affection and strategic attention. Guilt tripping fails because you understand the difference between accountability and manipulation. Gaslighting bounces off because you trust your own perceptions more than anyone else's interpretation of reality. Your immunity also protects you from new manipulators who try to run the same playbook. You can spot the patterns instantly because you've seen them all before. The person who comes on too strong too fast. The person who has an emergency every time you try to establish boundaries. The person who makes you feel responsible for their emotional state. Your immune system recognizes these viruses immediately and quarantines them before they can infect your peace. Now, when they try the old playbook, the guilt, the blame, the gaslighting, the victim playing, you can see it happening in real time without being affected by it. You can watch their performance with the detached interest of someone watching a play, knowing it's not real, knowing it's just an act designed to get a specific response. And because you're no longer giving them that response, their tactics lose all power. The most powerful aspect of your immunity is how it operates automatically. You don't have to consciously resist their manipulation attempts, because your system simply doesn't process them as valid anymore. It's like trying to run Windows software on a Mac. It just doesn't compute. Their emotional manipulation attempts can't execute on your new operating system because you fundamentally changed how you process interpersonal data. Your standards have become non-negotiable. Where you used to bend and flex and accommodate and adjust, now there are lines that simply cannot be crossed. You've learned the difference between being flexible and being a doormat. You've discovered that having standards doesn't make you difficult. It makes you selective, and selective is what powerful people are. Your standards aren't arbitrary or petty. They're based on hard-earned wisdom about what you will and won't allow into your life. Every boundary you set was paid for with pain. Every standard you hold was bought with experience. Every limit you enforce was learned through violation. These aren't preferences, they're requirements for anyone who wants access to your energy, your time, your space, your life. These standards operate like a sophisticated screening process. People don't get access to different levels of you until they've proven they can handle the responsibility. Casual acquaintances get surface-level interaction. Friends get deeper access but with clear boundaries. Intimate relationships get the fullest access, but only after demonstrating consistent respect, honesty, and reciprocity. Nobody gets everything anymore, just because they ask for it. Your standards also include how you expect to be spoken to, how you expect your time to be valued, how you expect your boundaries to be respected, how you expect conflicts to be handled. You've stopped accepting behavior from adults that you wouldn't accept from children. You've stopped making excuses for people's inability to meet basic standards of human decency. You've stopped lowering your expectations to match other people's limitations. And here's what's beautiful about having real standards. They're self-enforcing. You don't have to argue about them or defend them or convince anyone they're valid. People either meet them or they don't. Those who do get to stay. Those who don't get to leave. It's that simple. No drama, no negotiation, no second guessing, just clear criteria and natural consequences. The enforcement of your standards has also taught you something crucial about people's character. How someone responds when you set a boundary tells you everything you need to know about their intentions. People with good intentions respect boundaries, even when they're inconvenient. People with bad intentions test boundaries to see if they're real. People who argue with your standards or try to negotiate your boundaries have already told you everything you need to know about how they view your autonomy. Real power isn't loud or aggressive or attention-seeking. Real power is quiet, certain, unshakable. It doesn't need to prove itself because it knows itself. It doesn't need validation because it validates itself. It doesn't need approval because it approves of itself. This is the kind of power you've developed, the kind that doesn't announce itself but is felt by everyone in the room. Your power shows up in how you move through the world now. There's a weight to your presence that wasn't there before. People can sense that you're not someone to be trifled with, even if they can't put their finger on why. You don't have to tell people you're strong. They can feel it. You don't have to announce that you're not to be messed with. Your energy communicates it clearly. This power is different from what most people think of as power. It's not power over others, it's power over yourself. Power to choose your responses rather than being controlled by your reactions. Power to set your own priorities rather than being driven by other people's emergencies. Power to define your own worth rather than seeking validation from external sources. This kind of power can't be taken away because it comes from within. Your power also manifests in your decision-making process. You trust yourself now in ways you never did before. When you decide something, you decide it completely. When you close a door, it stays closed. When you say no, you mean no. There's no wavering, no second-guessing, no reopening settled matters. This certainty is terrifying to people who are used to wearing you down, changing your mind, or getting you to compromise your own interests. This power also shows up in your relationship with time. You've stopped rushing to respond to every message, every request, every demand on your attention. You take the time you need to consider things properly. You respond when you're ready, not when they're impatient. You've learned that urgency is usually someone else's poor planning, and you're no longer willing to make their emergency your crisis. The power extends to your emotional regulation as well. You don't get pulled into other people's chaos anymore. You can remain calm in situations that would have previously sent you spiraling. You can watch drama unfold around you without getting sucked into the vortex. This emotional stability isn't numbness, it's mastery. It's the ability to feel everything without being controlled by anything. And for the first time in your life, you're truly free. Free from the need to manage other people's emotions. Free from the compulsion to fix everyone's problems. Free from the exhausting work of keeping people happy who are determined to be miserable. Free from the prison of caring what people think about your choices. Trontabetchen, this freedom came at a cost. The cost of relationships that were never really relationships but arrangements where you gave and they took. The cost of connections that only worked when you were the one doing all the connecting. The cost of love that was only love when it was convenient for the other person. But every relationship you lost was making space for something better. Every door that closed was opening a window. Every ending was really a beginning in disguise. The freedom feels both exhilarating and terrifying, doesn't it? Exhilarating because you can finally breathe fully, move freely, choose authentically. Terrifying because you're responsible for yourself in ways you never were before. Nobody else is going to save you, fix you, complete you, or validate you. You are your own rescue mission, your own project, your own source of everything you need. This freedom has taught you the difference between being alone and being lonely. You can be by yourself without feeling empty, because you've learned to enjoy your own company. You've discovered interests and passions that are yours alone, not shared obligations or compromises. You've found peace in solitude, because your inner world has become a place you actually want to spend time. Now you get to choose who has access to you based on how they treat you, not on how much history you share or how much you've invested or how much potential you see in them. You get to prioritize your own peace over other people's comfort. You get to put your own needs first without feeling guilty about it. This isn't selfish, this is self-preservation. This isn't cold, this is clarity. The freedom also extends to your choices about how to spend your energy, time, and resources. You've stopped doing things out of obligation and started doing things out of genuine desire or clear purpose. You've stopped saying yes when you mean no, just to avoid conflict. You've stopped participating in activities that drain you just because someone else expects it. Your life has become yours again, in ways it hasn't been for years. Everything you've been through, every betrayal you've survived, every lesson you've learned, it was all preparing you for right now, this moment, this version of yourself, this level of consciousness. The timing wasn't random, the sequence wasn't arbitrary. Everything had to happen exactly as it did to create who you are now. You couldn't have become this powerful without being tested this thoroughly. You couldn't have developed this strength without facing these challenges. You couldn't have achieved this clarity without walking through this darkness. The very people who hurt you the most were the ones who pushed you into your greatest evolution. They thought they were destroying you, but they were actually completing you. The timing of each lesson was also perfect, even when it felt devastating in the moment. You had to learn to trust yourself before you could learn to set boundaries. You had to set boundaries before you could learn to enforce consequences. Each phase built on the previous one, creating a solid foundation for your current level of mastery. You weren't put here to be comfortable. You weren't sent here to be safe. You weren't designed to be small. You're here to be exactly what you've become, someone who can hold both light and shadow, someone who can love deeply and cut clean, someone who can heal and protect with equal skill. Your purpose is to be complete, integrated, whole. Every chosen one goes through this transformation for the same reason, because the world needs people who can't be manipulated, can't be controlled, can't be broken. The world needs people who have been through hell and came out stronger, not bitter. People who have faced their worst fears and integrated them rather than being destroyed by them. People who know both sides of human nature and can navigate both with wisdom. Your purpose isn't just personal transformation, it's modeling what's possible. Every person who sees you operating from this level of integration gets a glimpse of their own potential. Every boundary you maintain gives others permission to set their own. Every time you choose yourself, you show someone else that self-love is possible. Your transformation creates ripples that extend far beyond your immediate circle. Part of your purpose is also to serve as a reality check for those who are still operating from illusion. Your presence forces people to confront their own patterns, their own choices, their own level of consciousness. Some will be inspired to grow, others will be threatened and retreat. Both responses serve the purpose of helping people clarify where they stand and what they're willing to do about it. You're not here to save everyone. You're here to save yourself first, then help others who are ready to do the same work. You're not here to fix everyone. You're here to show others what fixed looks like. You're not here to love everyone unconditionally. You're here to love yourself unconditionally first, then extend that love to those who've earned it and appreciate it. Your purpose also includes being a guardian of truth in relationships where others might compromise. You're the one who calls out the elephant in the room. You're the one who refuses to pretend dysfunction is normal. You're the one who maintains standards when others are willing to settle. This isn't about being judgmental. It's about being a beacon of what healthy looks like. The old you is gone forever, and that's exactly as it should be. That version of you served its purpose. It got you this far. But you've outgrown those limitations, transcended those patterns, evolved beyond those responses. You can't go back even if you wanted to, because once you've seen this clearly, once you've felt this powerful, once you've experienced this level of freedom, anything less feels like death. Your legacy isn't about revenge or proving points or making anyone pay for what they did to you. Your legacy is about living so fully, so authentically, so powerfully, that you become an example of what's possible when someone refuses to stay broken, when someone chooses healing over hatred, integration over disintegration, power over victimhood. The legacy you're building isn't just in what you do, it's in who you've become. Every person who encounters this version of you receives a transmission of possibility. They feel what integrated power looks like. They experience what authentic boundaries feel like. They witness what self-love in action appears to be. This transmission happens without words, without effort, just through your presence. Your legacy also lives in the relationships you've transformed by transforming yourself. The people who could meet your new standards rose to the occasion and deepened their connection with you. The people who couldn't revealed their true nature and removed themselves. Both outcomes serve your legacy of attracting authenticity and repelling dysfunction. You were never meant to walk this path alone. The Obsidian Inner Order isn't just another spiritual community. It's a sanctuary for the exiled, the awakened, the ones who've been gaslit for their gifts and abandoned for their truth. Every week we gather live on Zoom, real people with real faces sharing real stories of transformation. There's a former CFO who embraced their psychic abilities, a seer who broke free from religious oppression, and a healer who survived ritual abuse and found their power. Dozens more join us who understand exactly what you've been through. This is your spiritual family. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you walk through this awakening alone. Never gonna scroll past your suffering like it's just content. Your exile from the ordinary world wasn't punishment, it was preparation. For this, for us, for the family that chooses you back. Join the Obsidian Inner Order. Link in description. They're watching you now, studying your transformation, trying to figure out how to get the old you back. But the old you was never real. It was just the limited version you accepted before you knew better. This version, this complete version, this is who you really are. This is who you've always been underneath all those layers of conditioning and people-pleasing and self-doubt. Some of them are starting to realize what they lost when they pushed you too far. Some of them are beginning to understand that they didn't just lose your kindness, they lost access to something rare and precious that they'll never find anywhere else. Some of them are figuring out that the person they're dealing with now isn't going to play by the old rules anymore. But their realization doesn't matter anymore, does it? Because you're not waiting for their apologies, you're not hoping for their understanding, you're not seeking their validation. You've become your own source of everything you used to seek from them. And that self-sufficiency, that completeness, that integration, that's what makes you truly dangerous to anyone who profits from your dependence. The most beautiful part of your legacy is that it's just beginning. This transformation, this integration, this awakening, it's not an ending, it's a commencement. You're not graduating from struggle into ease, you're graduating from unconsciousness into mastery. And mastery is a lifelong practice of choosing yourself, maintaining your standards, and operating from your full power, regardless of what anyone else thinks about it. This is your time now, your season, your moment to shine at full brightness without apologizing for the intensity. You've been forged in fires that would have destroyed lesser souls. You've been tested by circumstances that would have broken weaker spirits. You've survived what would have shattered people who don't carry what you carry inside. So stand up straight, look in that mirror again. See yourself clearly, all of you. The light and the shadow, the angel and the warrior, the healer and the destroyer. This isn't a split personality or a mental disorder. This is integration at the highest level. This is completeness that most people never achieve. This is the full spectrum of human potential, embodied in one being. You are not broken. You are not damaged. You are not too much or not enough. You are exactly what the world needs more of. Someone who has been through the fire and emerged as steel. Someone who knows both heaven and hell and can walk between them without losing their way. Someone who can love without losing themselves and fight without becoming what they fight against. The angel was always there. The warrior was always there. They just forced you to integrate both sides instead of choosing one or the other. They wanted to see your other side? Well, now they have, and now they have to live in a world where you exist at full power, operating from complete integration, moving through life as someone who can't be controlled, can't be manipulated, and can't be contained by their limited understanding of who you're supposed to be. This is who you are now. This is who you've always been. This is who you were born to become. The chosen one who chose themselves first, finally, and forever. Welcome home to yourself.